What's going on, everyone? Just the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video, we're going to be talking about where does Miles Bridges fit on this team now that he is apparently back. I know that sounds crazy because, like, of course, you just put him here or put him there. Well, there's two spots you can put him. Would it be better if they put him at the 4, or would it be better if they put him at the 3? I'm going to kind of talk about that in today's video because I think he should play at the 4, but I've seen a lot of people say they think he should play at the 3, and they've made good cases. So I'm just going to kind of give my thoughts on it, and you let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Also, really quick before we get into the video, just subscribe. That really helps the channel a lot. Also, if you like the video, that helps the channel a lot. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so last year when Miles Bridges played for the team, he predominantly played at the power forward position. There was nothing wrong with that. We saw that we had a high flying offense. We were one of the best offenses in the league. Obviously, him and LaMelo destroyed the fast break. And that, to me, is probably the Hornets at their best, because the only thing that's changed since that time, which sad as it may be, is that Mark Williams has become the center, the starting center, which I think he's a little more, well, not even a little, he's a lot more athletic than Mason Plumlee. So I think that's going to help push the tempo with this team. I really like having Miles at the 4 just because I like being able to have someone like Gordon Hayward at the 3, and I know that Gordon Hayward is not the most sought out person in the world, especially from Charlotte Hornets fans, and I'm not even the biggest Gordon Hayward fan, but when he plays, he's efficient. He wasn't efficient this past season, but at the same time, he normally is efficient. I think he'll do better. He mentioned that in his exit interview that he acknowledges that he didn't shoot well, he wants to shoot better, and I think he's going to do that next year. And the reason I am kind of saying next year is because I just don't foresee them trading Gordon Hayward or being able to get rid of Gordon Hayward. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But as of right now, we're just talking as if the roster stays the complete same. I know that's not what we want, but it's easiest trying to do that instead of trying to figure out what might or might not happen. But anyway, with that lineup, you have LaMelo, Terry, Gordon Hayward, Miles, Mark Williams in this situation. And like I said, Gordon Hayward can provide some shooting. He is a good playmaker. And then you add Terry Rozier to that, who also is, his numbers down shooting wise, they're just not the best. And that's a whole different story with Terry. But then LaMelo, he got better at the 3-point line, but he doesn't attack the basket as well as you would want him to be, or want him to. And he's gotten better over it this year. I mean, it's going to take some time, and not everybody just picks up a new skill and automatically just dominates at it. So I'm not concerned or anything, but Miles really helps with that because he is literally one of the best. I think he leads the Charlotte Hornets in history for best 2-point field goal percentage. I could be wrong, but I think so. And the way he does it is what makes it so important, because he's not someone, he just sits in the dunker spot, that's how he gets all his points, or he post playing or anything like that. He attacks from the 3-point line. So when you look at old highlights of Miles Bridges, it's not like he's sitting in the paint or sitting in the dunker spot or cutting it underneath. He takes the ball, ISO, and he's attacks from the 3-point line, gets the defender off their heels, and then goes in for the dunk or layup or whatever it may be. And I think that's very vital, considering Mark Williams, as of right now, has not adopted a 3-point shot. And so you're wondering, hey, will it get too congested in the paint? I don't think so. Even though Miles Bridges, his last season, which he shot 33% from the field, didn't have the best 3-point shooting performance that season, even when he attacks the basket, he's nowhere near the basket once he initially starts. And I think that's going to help, because all it takes is just Mark Williams getting out of the way. I think that's just going to take them getting to know each other and things like that. So I'm not concerned with the spacing issues. And Mark Williams also mentioned he may add a 3-pointer to his game, which I'm not expecting that to come around next season. However, that's something you have to think about. So that's why I think having Miles at the 4 is probably the best way to do it. However, I do see what people's point is that, hey, we need our best 5 on the floor, and your best 5 would be LaMelo, Terry, Miles, PJ, and then Mark Williams. So I can see that. However, with that lineup with PJ, it's just that he doesn't provide the playmaking that Gordon Hayward can provide on nights. He's not as efficient as Gordon Hayward usually is, and it's just he's also not the ball handler that Gordon Hayward is. Gordon Hayward is not Jamal Crawford with the handles, but it's enough. It's enough where he can penetrate the defense and he's able to kick it out. PJ can do that to an extent, but not at the same level Gordon Hayward can. And Miles also is really good at that. So I think that having the lineup with Gordon Hayward in it, while that's not your best 5, I truly believe PJ at the 4. That way you do have your best 5 players on the court. But It's just what works best for the type of offense you're trying to run. And if they're trying to run and gun, I think that can help. And also, I would really like to see PJ. We don't have a sixth man. I'm not sure if Kelly Oubre is coming back. And even then, is he really our sixth man? I'm not sure. He's a little too inconsistent. But if PJ could be our sixth man, I think that's going to help a lot because he's such an excellent defender. I think that having a guy off your bench that can defend the way PJ does, monumental. And then also we see that he can get hot. Is that his game? No, but we see that he can do it. And I think having a versatile six man that can come in and literally do whatever you need to game, whatever you need in that game, I think that's just as important as having PJ start. Now, will he see it that way, and will the money say, see it that way? I have no idea. I can't predict the future. I'm not even going to try to because it would just be too difficult. But I can see where PJ coming out as that sixth man. He may not be your traditional sixth man where he's scoring 30 or not, I say 30 points, but he's having nights where he scores 30 points or he's having nights where he scores 25. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but I am saying that he's just a very versatile weapon to pull off your bench when your starter gets in foul trouble or something like that. And then also, we know how good PJ is. There's going to be times where against certain teams, he's in the closing lineup because he's a small ball five. So it is just, I think that having PJ, it will be easier to bring PJ into situations on the court when, whatever the game calls for, than it would be to bring Gordon Hayward, because the most Gordon Hayward can do is just be a very good, efficient offensive player. But sometimes you need more than that. And PJ is a good, well-rounded tool to bring off the bench. And that's kind of just how I see it, especially considering our bench isn't where you want it to be. That's another reason why I'm pushing for the Miles at the 4, because our bench doesn't have, at least right now, it doesn't have much. Like, we hope Bryce McGowan's is pretty good, which it seems. James Bouknight, we hope he has the confidence that he had at the end of the season, at the beginning of next season. JT Thor has came a long way, and I really can't wait to see what his game looks like next year. And then, Dennis Smith Jr. is a point guard. So it's just like, and then Nick Richards, of course, at the 5. Where do you have that guy that can do a little bit of everything? Bryce McGowan, he's more of a scorer than anything, even though he's shown defensive potential. JT Thor right now is still a project, but has high defensive upside. Dennis Smith Jr. is not that much of a scorer, but we see the intensity he brings and the leadership he brings off the bench. And then Nick Richards obviously is the center. And then am I missing someone? James Bouknight, I think he could be the microwave scorer, which there's nothing wrong with that. If we need a guy to come off the bench and get us 12 real quick, I fully believe James Bouknight can be that if he gets his confidence right, gets his head right. But I think that what's going to help this team the most is being able to bring someone like PJ off the bench. Now, I don't know what kind of money he's asking for. The money may not warrant him being in the bench role, if that makes any sense, because I wouldn't want Gordon Hayward to be a $30 million player and him coming off the bench. But if they give PJ $20 million, I wouldn't want him to be a $20 million player and come off the bench. So that's where it gets tricky. But in the perfect world, which it never works out this way, but in a perfect world, it would be great to bring a guy off the bench that can score, that can defend. And while he's not the playmaker, you have guys that do that. You have Dennis Smith Jr., Teo Maldon. We don't know what's going to happen with him, but that's a possibility as well. James Bouknight, while he's not a playmaker, it's good enough. Same with Bryce McGowan. So there are other things they need to look at. However, you don't have a guy like PJ on the roster in general, in my opinion. But also, you don't have a guy like that off the bench that can really just change the game in so many different ways. Most guys they can only change the game this way. And most of the guys are young, so there's time for them to develop and be able to impact the game in different ways. But PJ, we know he can do it right now, and I think that's just very valuable. That's why I kind of vote for Miles to be at the 4. I definitely can see at the 3 because, like I said, that is your best 5-man, but then it leaves your bench in trouble. It leaves your bench in major trouble. Now, all of this could be obsolete if the Hornets make some changes, but as of right now, as the roster currently stands, no rookies, no anything, I think that you would need PJ to come off the bench because you don't have a guy that you can go. You wouldn't really have a go-to guy at all if PJ were to start. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Like I said, I definitely see both sides, but that was kind of just my point. And while it's not necessarily truly about Miles, it's more about where do we put PJ in this equation and where is the Hornets' talent on the bench. I think it's more so about that. And like I said, Miles' positioning affects that, but it's truly about, hey, do you want to go into the next season with Gordon Hayward, Bryce McGowan, James Bouknight, JT Thor, and I forget Nick Richards as your bench. Not really. I mean, you would hope for it to be better. You don't really have much major impact, at least as of right now, off the bench. But you bring PJ, a guy who really, like I keep saying, affects the game in so many ways. I think you're more willing to have that off your bench. But the money could price him out of the bench. There's so many things that can happen. But personally, like I said, I think that Miles at the 4 is probably the best bet. You got spacing. You got all everyone can play make except Mark Williams, which I'm not asking him to. You got Miles, who, while he's not the world's best defender, he can guard a secondary ball handler. He is able to guard bigger wings. So you have guys like that. You have Gordon Hayward, like I said, who brings that efficiency, because PJ isn't that efficient when it comes to 3-point shooting. He's been trailing off these last 2 years, probably because he's been shooting more. And I don't think that he's like a bad 3-point shooter. It's been trailing off. What do you do in those situations? You have enough ball handlers. You have enough offensive-minded guys coming off the bench. So there's just no point of taking Gordon Hayward and doing that as well. But like I said, this all could be obsolete once PJ gets his contract, or Gordon Hayward gets traded, or the team gets blown up altogether. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.